Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third webcast brought to you by ASHRAE Mumbai Chapter. Grow with ASHRAE. In this series, you will get to know how our members have benefited and flourished from the society. As I always say, if you are part of the HVAC in our industry, or an engineering or an architecture student, or a college faculty, ASHRAE is definitely for you. My name is Nivedita Jadhav, and I serve as the president-elect of ASHRAE Mumbai Chapter. It is indeed a pleasure and honor to host this series. To continue with the series, our guest today is Dr. Roshini Easow. She has been my personal support for more than a decade. She has also been the past president of ASHRAE Mumbai Chapter. In fact, the first woman president. I'll be taking over. That's the second part. She's also been a past president of ASHRAE Mumbai Chapter, a professor of mechanical engineering at a government-aided engineering college in Mumbai. After 30 years of service, she retired, but still continues to be active in ASHRAE and ASHRAE, holding several portfolios. Welcome, ma'am, and thank you for agreeing to be part of the show.
Thank you, Nivedita. It's fun to be here.
Thank you, ma'am. So let's straight away jump into the series of questions. In fact, I have a lot of questions, but we'll try and see as many as we can keep. So as an academician, how has ASHRAE helped you in your career?
Yeah, as I see it, engineering education, we are preparing students for the industry. And there's a tendency for academics to stay in their silos and operate there. Whereas ASHRAE, a forum like ASHRAE brings you in contact with the industry itself, listen to people from the industry, learn from the people from the industry, and then you go back. And when you're teaching, you have a 60 students captive audience. So you can transfer to them whatever you have learned from the industry stalwarts whom we meet through ASHRAE. So I would say that my teaching went through a paradigm shift after being involved in ASHRAE and ASHRAE also. I mean, they are both sister organizations for me, but ASHRAE gives me a much wider expose internationally also.
And what about your personal journey, or even if in the academics, your teaching style, has that really, or the content, how has that helped you in your journey?
Yeah, that's why I said my whole teaching went through a paradigm shift, like what I was before I became involved in ASHRAE and what I was after is a lot different. And many of my students would vouch for that. In fact, there was this very nice incident where somebody, senior member from ASHRAE Pakistan, went to US, and there he met some of my students, and they were saying that we learned a lot from this teacher. So he was so happy that he immediately mailed me and said, hey, I met some of your students out there and this is what they conveyed to me. So that makes my day, that I did my association with ASHRAE. In fact, my first association with ASHRAE was from the Western India chapter when they approached me to start a student chapter in my college. And that's how I came to know of ASHRAE. And then when ASHRAE Mumbai was formed carved out of Western India, it was just automatic that I would become a part of the Mumbai chapter. And I've been there from day one. And I must say that things have been moving really, really good. So as far as academics is concerned, I think every academic who teaches HVAC, fluid flow, heat transfer, all these associated fields, they should be definitely part of these forums where the learning is just immense and it's unimaginable. And
So,
yeah, and also I would like to add, when I was reading for my PhD, ASHRAE transactions, oh my, they helped me so much. I have spent hours and hours reading ASHRAE transactions in the library. So the immense wealth which ASHRAE brings, technical wealth which it brings to an academic is just unimaginable.
So have the students really been able to take benefit? I mean, maybe in your college or post the other colleges that.
Yeah, like, no, I would say my college, we started the chapter somewhere in 99. And after I was away from the college for my PhD, so things did not go well. But when my students who plan to study outside India, when they write in their biodata that they've been active as a chapter in ASHRAE or ASHRAE, it carries a lot of weight for them in getting their master's degree,
Okay.
master's admission and the financial aid. So these things work a lot because it's familiarity. You know, some professor in US says, hey, this person, ASHRAE, yes, it rings a bell.
Right.
Yes, this is something I know about. And if that student has been active here, it really matters. You know, you are the president of the student chapter. Yes, a great benefit. So that way, but as far as getting project funding and all, during my early days, it was not possible. But now I see some of my colleagues in the chapter, Dr. Kavita, who's being tremendously successful in getting project funding and scholarships. And when you convert US dollars to Indian rupees, it's really, really good for a student. It's just unimaginable, and it attracts a lot of students. Plus, students get exposure. For example, we had student going over to RAL, student competition in the Middle East, and he wins the prize. I mean, it's something the student is gaining tremendously, not only in technology, but also the exposure, the confidence to stand up in front of a crowd and speak. In fact, I would say I also gained a lot by I mean, you are always teaching to students, but when you come to ASHRAE, you are speaking to people who are from the industry, who are dealing in finance, who are bothered about such things. So when to have the courage to stand up with them and talk to them on equal footing, that gives you a tremendous amount of confidence. So it's something which I would advise anybody to be part of ASHRAE. But one thing is, there is no point in just being a member. You have to be active. You have to be participating in all the activities of the chapter, and there are immense opportunities to really come into the chapter and do some. You can be part of the programs, you can be part of membership, you can be part of anything for that matter, and gain a lot from it.
I am also sure that you would have experienced a great comfort when you were dealing with the industry. I mean, being from the academic background, I've seen many college professors have a preconceived notion about how the industry would respond to an academician once, because there's a disconnect. There has been a disconnect as such. So how has your experience been with the industry stalwarts?
Yeah, in the beginning, I was, maybe it was my complex that I'm from academics, but everyone else made me feel very comfortable. And then as time progresses, I know everybody, so it is very easy. But in the beginning, like you said, I was the first woman. I shouldn't talk about this specially, but it matters when you go new and you don't know most of the people there, and then there is no one else to kind of chit chat or talk with. And then, but after slowly as time progresses, of course, we are mechanical engineers who work in even in the academics. There was hardly any other female faculty. I was just alone in the. So after a time, you cease to think of yourself as woman and man and all those things. It just merges. So they all become friends, and everybody whom I met from the industry have been super cooperative with me, and never made me feel anything other than somebody on equal footing with us.
In fact, you are not because you are a woman, but because you are from the academics, the kind of respect that our industry gives to anyone who teaches in the college. Teaching is the most noble profession, that apart from, of course, being doctors, I think the respect comes in automatically. So, ma'am, to go on to our next question, I suppose there is a very distinct reduced cost for membership cost for student members and even faculty. So would you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so the early days, I'm talking about 1999 when I became a member. When our perception about the money conversion was like, now a student, you may go and buy a Nike pair of shoes or eat a pizza or something, spending quite a bit of money. But old days, it was not that. So the moment you say that I have to pay this many dollars as a membership fee, then everybody says, no, it's difficult and all that. But somewhere along the way, I don't remember exactly which year, but these motions were raised and the developing economies got a different rate. So the student membership went very down to around $10 also, which was just amazing. I don't know how much it has increased now. And even for our memberships, then it becomes affordable affordable means in our perception, many things are affordable, but this is, so it becomes affordable, and then everybody would even think of joining. Because every time you ask somebody to become a member, says, what do I have in it? Why should I spend this kind of money? And then you have to explain to them the exposure you get. For example, when I was a teacher, I was just known in my college possibly, but now I'm known by everybody all over India and maybe outside India also. So you get to meet people, and that's you can't measure those in terms of rupees or dollars. So that's my contention. But when it changed, the rate changed for developing economies, yes, it became much easier for us to convince people.
So you also traveled internationally for the chapter regional conferences, CRCs as we call them. I think you traveled at least 4 times.
Yeah.
So how has your experience been?
Yeah, so this chapter's regional conference takes place in the region that is outside the US, not the Far East. So while I was a student chair, I went to Cairo in 2010. I mean, you can imagine the feel you get there. I'm going to the land of the pharaohs and the pyramids, and you're going to get a chance to meet people. So that was my first experience. I was just kind of getting used to the ropes. Then subsequently, I went in 2014 as president-elect to Madrid. So when you're a president-elect, your involvement is much better, because you're sitting on the conference table where there are people from all countries. That time even Europe was there. So we had so many people sitting on the huge, I'll show you pictures later on. And then you have to have the courage to vote. People are voting for things. So shall I vote? Shall I not vote? Will my chapter, because I'm going as a representative of the chapter. So I should wisely vote or not vote for certain things. So the experience as a president-elect, and later that trains you for the next role as the president. So I went as president to Istanbul. So meeting people from all parts of the world and interacting with them, and most importantly, sitting on the same table as everyone and making decisions for your chapter. That is a very important part. So you have to really get into the not nitty gritties, I would say, but you have to really put yourself into it and put it with, underlying thing is the passion. Unless you have the passion for all these things, it just becomes nothing. So you have to put your passion, learn, digest, and then sit there as a representative of your chapter and vote or not vote for certain things. So that's a amazing experience. So, and then of course in 2016 I went to Thailand, and that time you also were there. So Thailand was a super CRC where there was, maybe you could tell more things about it than I can. And that was another experience. So it's interacting with people is, I would say, one of the most exciting things. And in Thailand, we had this concept that every chapter has to bring a standee with about their activity. So that year we said that why should I use a flex? A flex is something not biodegradable. It may take years for a flex to disappear from the earth. So I said, let's do something more eco-friendly. So I put a backdrop of straw and took printouts and stuck it, and we got the award for the sustainable standee. So that was a good thing for us at that year.
So Super CRC was one of the, I think, rarest CRCs where it was an amalgamation of 2 regions. We had the region 13, around 9 or 10 chapters, and the 25 odd chapters that ASHRAE had, ASHRAE region at large at that time. So we had around more than 500 guests. So it was one great experience that even I was lucky to be part of that event.
Yes, but in Thailand, we were so dedicated with the CRC that we never went anywhere. Whereas in
Right.
Madrid and Istanbul, at least we could go around and see places. So that's a very exciting part of it. And it's not always work also. There's a lot of fun. There's a fun element to it. Meeting people from all Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Africa, Europe. It's been always a great amazing. But again, as I repeat, you have to be part of the team, involved in the activities, and then only you really extract the real essence of being an ASHRAE member.
So, ma'am, you mentioned about reaping the benefits of the society, not just as being members, but what are the other opportunities which you have got apart from being a president and president-elect or the student chair? How have you been involved, and how do you think the other members could participate?
Yeah, so you become a member of the local chapter wherever you are and take on roles there, which gives you an opportunity. For example, if you are the person who's organizing the programs, which in ASHRAE terminology we call it CTTC. So then you get to organize the meetings where people come from outside, the so-called ASHRAE DL. So you get people coming in from many parts of the world. Then you get to host them, you get to meet them, and that itself evolves another lasting relationship with many people. So in many of those roles, you get to really put in your two bits and I mean, benefit from it. I would say that you have to be in some role. For example, I took up the role of historian, which I think that, okay, we are just writing the history, but it involves a lot of work. And then we wrote up the history of the ASHRAE Mumbai chapter. It appeared what we made. I mean, what I wrote up came up in the RAL history book. Then we wrote up history, and I got that yellow golden ribbon award for writing the best history. So that kind of interaction. So you have to put in your time and effort to be there, and then you get the benefits of it. Of course, technology, the information everybody speaks about. So there is an immense amount of information on the website, but you have to go there, you have to look at it, and you get involved in it. And so unless you do that, if you just say I'm a member and sit quiet, nothing is going to happen. You have to be involved in all the activities. That's
so ASHRAE really gives a lot of opportunities, not just knowledge, but the other exposure of being a complete person.
Yes, definitely. I would.
So, ma'am, we are actually just coming towards the end of this recording. So, any parting message to fellow academicians?
Yeah, I would say every academician who's into teaching this kind of subjects, they should definitely be part of this thing. Otherwise, we are giving a meaningless education to our students. And imagine we have a captive audience of 60 students sitting in front of us. So there's a lot of things, just like we say that what we are today is a lot because of our parents, how they brought us up. So I would say that a teacher has a lot of influence on the students. So in fact, I still get students who finished in 1994 say, ma'am, we remember what you said in the class about some sunlight or solar energy or some natural light or indoor air pollution. All these things they remember a lot, because I used to talk to them about embedded energy, and I used to tell them, why are you eating a kiwi fruit which is from New Zealand? Why can't you eat the Peru from Vasai?
Yeah.
Or why don't you drink coconut water instead of drinking Coke from a tin? Imagine the energy which goes into that. So there was amusing time once when I went to the class, the boy saw me coming and he held the Coke tin behind his back, thinking that I'm going to give him a scolding. So lots of things, so many things you tell the students, some of them listen, some of it gets embedded in their brain, and that's your job to increase their information. And ASHRAE and ISHRAE have been tremendous influences in my life, and my whole life, I would say, changed because of my interaction with ASHRAE and ISHRAE. And I would definitely recommend that every academic, very few, I still can see only a handful of academicians who are not the maybe professors from the IITs or something. There are here and there, but you can count on your finger. Even if you take your own chapter, there's just a few people who are from academics who really come into ASHRAE and reap the benefits, because otherwise, unless you come and be active in it, you cannot do that. So library, in my library, ASHRAE handbooks are there, so students go and refer them. So in many ways, the students and the faculty benefit by being part of such organizations.
Thank you, ma'am. It's been wonderful. I'm sure all those who would watch this recording, especially academicians, they'll feel what do I say? They'll feel that okay, they have a lot of takeaways from your experience, and I hope to see them join ASHRAE and be active. Not only just join ASHRAE, but be active also
that's very
in the
important.
chapter.
That's very important. That is true. And then before we leave, you and me have been there in ASHRAE for quite a long time. I was there from the beginning, and you came in maybe a year or so afterwards. But it's been
2011 that I joined.
Yeah. So we started in 10, so 11 is almost the beginning. So you know how much it's been a fun time. So what about, is there time for me to show those pictures?
Oh yes, yeah, definitely. I'm sure many would want to watch those. If you could share your screen.
Can you see?
Yeah.
So this is the installation ceremony where a senior member of the chapter will come and swear you in, and that's the whole team which was sworn in with me when I took over as the president. So this is what I told you. There are the dignitaries coming from outside to give us lectures. So this is one of them. This was another. And as I told you, there is a lot of fun times also. So this is one Gudi Padwa. We all met when I was the president-elect and Ravi was the president. So you can see it was a family get-together. This was when we installed a student chapter at IIT Bombay. This was when we had installed a chapter at a college a little out of Mumbai called Ratnagiri, but the students there were super enthusiastic and super involved in the chapter. So we were doing a tree planting at this point to as a gesture of starting the chapter there. This is one of our activities called Symposia. So you can see that time, I think you were president of the ASHRAE and I was there. So so we have many activities which we do in tandem with the local chapters of ASHRAE also. So here is another, again, this gentleman called Larry Spielvogel came and gave us a lecture. And this is, I talked about the chapters regional conference. This was in 2014. So you can see Mr. Ravi is the president and I am the president-elect. So we get to sit on this big table and I can see you there and Mr. Krishnan at the back. So this is what I said, when you go for a CRC, you're sitting on such a table with so many people from all over the region. This is, you're getting some certificate. I think you were RP chair.
RP chair that time.
Yeah. So that was you. Then it's always some fun also. So you can see you enjoying the music and somebody is dancing to the music. This was the dinner on that day. And this is when in Istanbul, so you can see me there and Nitin as the president-elect at that time. And this is during the nomination meeting. So the chair and the vice chair. And this is again the president of ASHRAE, Mr. David Underwood, and the others. I think this is Istanbul.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this is the last farewell. So Mr. Farooq Mehboob is there, who's the current president-elect, or president-elect, right?
President-elect.
So that's
it was a great refresher. In going through old pictures is something really gives you a big smile. So thank you, ma'am. It was a nice idea of you to share these images so that people also know what all enjoyment is there once you join ASHRAE at a chapter level.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, audience, and look forward to meeting you all at the next recording. Thank you.
Thank you.